When I was 7 years old, I went to the doctor and I failed my vision test. A few days later, I found myself at an ophthalmologist's office failing practically the same vision test. Now, after countless visits with an ophthalmologist and a neurologist who specialized in eyes, they determined that I have congenital bilateral optic atrophy. Now I'm going to start with a vocabulary lesson. Congenital means present at birth, bilateral meaning affecting both sides, optic is of the eye, atrophy is the wasting away of, and usually it's degeneration of cells. So basically that meant that I was born with a damaged optic nerve in both of my eyes. Now the optic nerve is a nerve that runs from your retina to your brain, and basically it allows what you see through your retina to go to your brain, like it relays that image. So when you have a damaged optic nerve, those images are not being relayed to your brain clearly. So what exactly is optic atrophy? Basically what it means is your optic nerve has fewer blood vessels than a healthy optic nerve. So when a doctor looks at it, it's actually going to look pale instead of looking red like most. And because you have less blood flow in your optic nerve, the images are not being relayed correctly to your brain. So there are a few different ways that they test and can diagnose optic atrophy. First is an acuity test, and that's just the normal vision test that pretty much everyone takes, where they read off the chart, and generally it has the big E at the very top of it. Next, they might do a color test, and they might use that book that has a circle of one color, so maybe it'd be a circle of a bunch of red dots. And then within those red dots, it will have, say, the number 6 in the color green. And you have to pick out those colors, and usually you only have a few seconds to look at it. And that's going to test whether you see colors correctly. Now, the next test is a visual field test. Now, this test is where you're going to sit in front of kind of like a big box, and you're going to place your chin on a strap just like this, and you're going to stare straight into the box at this dot that's going to be directly in front of you. Now they're going to hand you a clicker, and once they start the test, you're supposed to watch for little dots of light to show up around the box. But you have to keep staring straight at the dot that's in front of you. You can't look over anywhere. So basically what this is doing is testing to see if you're seeing dots of light, above or below. It's testing your peripheral vision to the sides. And again, you're staring at that dot. So it's just seeing what your field of vision is. When I took this when I was 7 years old, the test took about 45 minutes on each eye, and it was miserable sitting there for that long as a 7-year-old kid. Now the test is a lot better, and it really only takes about 5 minutes per eye. So now the last thing that they'll do, that I've already mentioned before, is the doctor is going to look at your eye, and if it appears pale, then generally it means you have optic atrophy. Now, one question is, what do these people see? It could be a range of things, depending on how bad their optic atrophy is. Someone could have 2200 vision, meaning they're legally blind, so their vision's going to be basically completely blurry. They're not going to be able to drive at all, probably can't really see the TV. Or somebody could have, 2060 vision, meaning they can see everything. They just might have to, say, hold a book a little bit closer than the average person would have to. Now, they may also not be able to see colors correctly. I'm told that sometimes I mistake like a green and certain color yellow, but to me that's what I see, but that's what I've been told. So currently there is no treatment for optic atrophy. It's hard for them to operate on because it's in the back of your eye, so it's just difficult for them to get to. And also, it being a nerve, nerves are very tiny, so again, that's difficult for them to work on. So I have always said that if there is an experimental surgery, then I am willing to try it even if it means possible vision loss. Because on, not necessarily a daily basis, but often when people find out about my vision problem, they ask me what I see. And it's difficult for me to explain because what I see is what I'm used to. I always see it. I don't know what it's like to see perfect because I can't wear glasses or contacts to fix it. So, I may see something that's blurry, but I don't realize it's blurry. So I would love to actually be able to answer somebody's question one day about what it's like to have optic atrophy and actually be able to tell them because I had some experimental surgery and I can now see perfect. And then I will be able to give them a description of what it was like when I had the disease and what it's like having perfect vision.